Okay, so hello everyone. Thank you for joining us on today's regular live event. Today we'll be talking about the violet flame in first of like a big overview of what it is, and in second, like what can you use it for and how it works, which can be super important. Okay, I just had some reverb. Oh, that was mine. Okay. So yeah, on Tuesday we were talking about like, okay, like everyone is going through difficult times, and being here on Earth can be very dense and difficult to navigate at sometimes. And like, what is the best thing that you can do every day or all day long, however much you want it to do, is basically use some kind of transmutational tool. And today's topic will be the violet flame, which I think is the most accessible and like most known in the spiritual community is the violet flame. So we will be talking about that. And next Thursday, at the same time, we're going to have a Zoom live channeling session, just as we had it last week. So the replay is still in the community section. You can check it out. What is it all about? In short, like you can join me on Zoom for a private channeling session with the group. And it's not going to be broadcast on YouTube, but you can still watch the replay in the community section. So if anyone's interested, then please stay tuned and check out the community section on Wednesday, at least. Okay. So hello, higher vibrations. Thank you for joining us on
Hello, everybody.
today's regular body cop series.
We were saying how Guardian was saying how he and I should be this, like, those cop shows where they're like the partners that are buddies kind of thing. It was kind of fun. um I was curious too, how, if anyone feels like commenting, what do you guys think of that channeling thing that Guardian did the other day? That was really cool.
Which
That's my little
channeling?
the live chat, the community section link that you can go to and
Oh,
see that
yeah.
you're talking about a moment ago. It was really neat, and I just was curious what everybody thought. Right now is the best time to do any of this transmutation stuff. I'm really excited this is the topic that you chose today, Guardian.
Yeah, like I was thinking about it quite a lot, and like ascension symptom stuff came back again. But yeah, like we already talked about it, and I think like sharing practical tools with people that can actually like propel them forward on the journey like is more useful right now. And on next event, we can talk about stuff happening, especially that we've been like hit by some kind of solar flares again. I'm not sure, but I had like a very difficult day again, energetically, mentally, and physically, on all levels. So if anyone's like feeling super drained and fatigued, then please write it in the chat or raise your hand. Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
I was
it was.
also during the day, I was like thinking about like, should we hold the live event or not? Like I was not feeling up to it during the day, but I did some transmutation and I still can hold it together for at least an hour. So
Awesome.
let's make the most of it.
I always know whether or not I trust my own intuition. Still, I'm the same as everybody else, that learning to trust yourself. I almost always feel when someone is preparing or decided, or for some reason a meeting will be canceled. And I literally a few times this morning was like, is he going to do it? Like, I felt like maybe you weren't going to do it today. So that's kind of fun that I was connected in that way.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
was pondering that.
especially that the lower chakral area for a lot of people, it's being that's an area of that's being affected by these ascension symptoms. I was having a hard time getting that out. And the extreme fatigue and also emotional kind of outbursts. Interestingly enough, a lot the children that are still considered children or teenagers that were born pre 2012, so before 2012 or on 2012, are right now, these teenagers are having some really severe symptoms that are like not in so much emotional, but male or female having like severe like premenstrual kind of stuff, just really bad cramping and vomiting, and this is happening to a lot of people. And so it's just good to know that if you're one of those parents that has a kid going through that. And a lot of these parents who have contacted me have children that were born after 2012 that are fine. And they're like, I don't think this is an ascension symptom because the younger one's okay. And it's just something happened in 2012 where the children started to be born more online. Their DNA was more activated and all that, I think is why. And so the detoxing that's happening is happening to all of these kids. If you want to help your kids, this transmutation right now, using any kind of detoxing tea, gentle detoxation stuff, and transmutation, inviting this violet flame, playing some of Guardian's violet flame light language that he has in his YouTube channel here. There's some awesome stuff. Playing that kind of stuff, allowing it to just be the frequency. What we're doing is we're saying, thank you, energy. And now it's time for you to go. You know, this energy is going away and just let it go. So that's my spiel. I'm really excited that we're talking about this today.
Awesome. Yeah, like I was searching for some images, but it's not that super important right now. Yeah, like regarding the violet flame, like just as I said, it's like the most well-known energetic tool or meditation for transmutation in the spiritual community. So like if anyone has already worked with it or has some kind of knowledge, like please say something in the chat box, or if you have some kind of experience or something to add to it, then please share it with us. And like other hands, like I haven't done as much research on like the literature on what other people think about it as much, to be honest. I was just kind of learning about it in the beginning that, hey, this thing actually exists and I can use it. And I was just kind of like experimenting with it and like try to decipher and learn what I could by actually working with it and experiencing it. So I don't have like the Wikipedia definition for it or anything.
Right.
But yeah, like in general, I think it's like an energetic field or frequency that you can like, that is very high vibrational and that is there for us here on planet Earth to transmute density and to propel us in our evolution, in short. And you can use it for a lot of things, like basically it transforms everything that is dense and that everything that can like hold you back on your journey moving forward. And this can mean like absolutely anything. Like maybe you have some unpleasant energies left over from some of your social interactions. Maybe you're physically sick, maybe you're emotionally drained, or whatever that makes you feel down or low vibrational. It will actually work with that and transform it. So I actually used it in the beginning for physical healing as well on myself. And I don't have it completely confirmed, but I think it cured me from meningitis. I think that's what it's called. Yeah. So in the beginning, I didn't really know how to maneuver with my empathic abilities. Excuse me. And I took stuff from other people, and I think that was one of them. I know like it was during the winter time and I felt very, very sick. And I think it lasted for like 3 days when I get like really scared of like, holy shit, like what is happening to me? And when I get really scared, I start to use the violet flame to like, okay, please help me, or let's do something. And I worked with it like for like 3 days. And after that, it was gone. Like all the symptoms were gone. And I was like constantly getting the message from my guys that you should go to a neurologist or something, go to a neurologist. And like, no, like, I don't want to know like what happened. And I think like after 2 weeks, I actually went to a neurologist and she ordered like a ton of blood tests and I was like tested for everything and all that. And when we got back the tests and she was like reviewing it, she said like she doesn't understand like what was happening because like the symptoms that I was describing were the symptoms of meningitis and my blood tests are like exceptionally good. She doesn't understand what happened. I was like, you were probably just stressed out or something. Let me prescribe some vitamins or something.
Right.
I was like, okay. So something actually did happen there. But yeah, like you can use it for many different things. I always experimented on myself. Like I don't have boundaries during that, in that sense, at least. So I did very drastic experiments on myself energetically, like what works and what doesn't. But when it like comes to other people, it's a bit different because like they have different boundaries and contracts with you. And yeah, I usually, when I do these types of transmutations, I go all out, and it can be drastic sometimes because you're pushing out a lot of dense energy all at once, and your physical body can also feel it.
Yeah.
Like I also wanted to like get into the phase of like when you're first maybe starting out, you never used it before. And some people, I think, talk about it like the Kundalini awakening or something, when like stuff realigns in your back or something, or you have these like strange electric jolts in your body. And that's like a completely natural side effect of it, because like we all have blockages in our system. And this energy is basically there to transform it. And if it's very potent, it's going to like push through that blockage. So it's going to like, just like imagine your energy streams being like a river, and you have like debris deposited, and the river can't flow there because it is blocked basically. So it does all sorts of imbalanced stuff, and this violet flame energy comes and it's like breaks through that blockage and like pushes out everything and brings back everything into the flow. And if you haven't really done that, then it's going to have a physical symptom of like you get like a jolt, or it's like realigning your back or something. And so don't get scared, like it's completely normal. It can also happen during meditation when you like do some kind of healing or cleansing or realignment with yourself. So yeah, but the more you do it, it will disappear. So the clearer you are, the less of these like weird physical sensations will happen.
Right.
And that's all I have in this run. So what is your input, higher vibrations?
Thank you. That was awesome. I would like to add to that, that the twitching you were talking about, that the muscle spasms and stuff. I'm when you were speaking, I was guided to call it the shaking out. And I've known we've talked about that before, that concept of, you know, just like what you said. It was a really good way to describe it. I'll have that too. I've had a couple of them where they've been really profound, to where you almost feel like, should I readjust my body, even though I'm deep in meditation? I know that would disrupt my meditation at that moment. And,
Yeah,
you
like
know,
sometimes your back is like a bit off or something and you don't
right.
even feel it.
Right. And then, you know, once, you know, scanning the body, seeing like, wow, I'm really am doing this shaking out. I'm really doing this transmutation right now. There's, so what Guardian talked about earlier, by the way, this is my just, you know, about contracting someone else's illness. That is a old way of healing. And so it's not advised that you do it that way. A lot of times it happens on accident, to just let you know that, in the old days, the way people healed people was that they took the illness inside themselves and then transmuted it inside their own body. And so, you know, for us
Don't do
that,
that.
no, yeah. You'll be okay. It's not worth it. It's a step that causes more distress than anything else. You'll do just as well helping that person from afar. The difference between doing it from afar is that it's the person on the healing end has a more gradual experience, and so they'll notice real symptoms or real relief, not for 3 or 4 days, you know. And so we don't need immediate gratification anymore. We don't live in that paradigm anymore. Just give healing and, you know, and transmutation, and then let yourself separate from it. I wanted to point out too, we have a couple of people that are talking about having memory of being part of this, you know, where an actual violet flame, I think is what Gail called herself, which is beautiful. And there's a lot of these Order of the Violet Flame, Saint Germain, these energies that have been coming up a lot lately, like out of all the same time. And I've been waiting to see why, you know, and like people coming to the recollection of being Saint Germain as in a past incarnation and that kind of stuff. And remember that an individual who was incarnated long ago or whatever can, in theory, be incarnated many times at the same time right now, in several different people. And so having so many people saying, I'm Saint Germain, or I'm from the Order of the Violet Flame, it's really fascinating and awesome. And that tells me that it's time to use it, that everybody's kind of gathering at the gathering circle for it, and another way to talk about this healing that we use, let me rephrase that. The most important thing that I discovered is to find out where your heart flame, not your heart flame, where your soul spark is. Sometimes people want to go right in their physical heart, but it's just usually around this area. And so I found that difficult because I was looking for it to be exactly in my heart. At the time, it was in my speak your truth chakra, so anyway, and then noticing that little spark is just the smallest of small in its originating point. So there is nothing inside of it, and knowing that the power of that, when we extend that energy and let it become the color that it needs to. That was the last point that I wanted to make, is that my hesitancy for using the violet flame for a while was that I was discouraged every time that I used it. Within a very short time, the color would change to a different color. And I was like, no, I'm doing the violet flame, focus, and feeling like I had been failing in some way. And so it was really useful. Guardian is the one that told me, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm good. Whatever color that you need is what comes forward, and so I didn't feel like I was failing anymore. And then it turns out it's kind of fun because I don't really know what I'm healing sometimes. I just know that there's something out of balance or something that's just not in harmony. And then after the fact, I'll find myself looking back at my experience and seeing what was healed, and it will be the corresponding color that was needed. So allowing whatever color needs to come forward.
Yeah, I also shared some pics with the violet flame. Like, this is in general how I try to visualize it. But as high vibration said, like, it can change its color or its tone very easily. For example, it can like become something much darker, like go into like blue, dark bluish violet, or almost like pinkish in some cases. Oh yeah, like there's some kind of image of like visualizing the earth being engulfed in the violet flame and transforming all density. Like, that's an awesome meditation if you can do it. And yeah, like it can manifest in many different ways and forms. Like if it changes shape, movement, for example, like here are some illustrations of like being a more gentle fire, maybe. After that, it can like take different forms, different shapes. It can flow differently. It can be also some kind of vortex, or just like pushes through your body, or just around you. Like, it can be basically anything. So, and I think like everyone else experiences it in a different way. So there is like no right or wrong way of doing it. Like, just let it happen in the beginning and see what happens. For example, in my case, and I also heard it from other people, like if you never work with it, then it will not be very potent. For example, when I first called upon it, it was very similar to when you like spray alcohol on your hand and like light it up with fire. And it's just this vague little shimmer on your hand. It was something like that in the first day. Then the second day, it started to become a bit stronger. And I think like needed like 3 or 4 days to like build it up to full body transformation or something. But basically, the more you do it, the more it builds up and the more access you have to it. So if you're like already like pushed through some specific points in your evolution with the violet flame, then after that you can like very easily call upon it and like have access to the full extent of its power very rapidly. You don't have to go through different steps of like how to tune into it and like try to anchor its energy, then hold it. the more you do it, the more used to it, then the easier it will be, basically. And the more crazier stuff you will be able to do with it.
Exactly. Just, and it's anything else. It's a spiritual muscle, right? You know, like once you work on an area, a muscle area in your body, you become stronger, you know, and when you practice doing anything, you just become better at it. And so just give yourself time. And that's like the point I actually made down here to write is to, you know, not give up, you know, not be discouraged.
Mhm.
I was a little bit, honestly, at first. Again, it was due to the color change. There was a lot of things that I didn't know that it was fine, that made me feel like I wasn't using it right, or I couldn't do it or something like that. So just having that and just letting yourself go with it, whether or not you can see it, the transmutation's happening, you know, like the development of our ability to see what's occurring is, I think, really what we're doing here. Not so much that we're getting better at transmuting, it's that the better we get at allowing ourselves to trust what's happening, the more that we can see it, and then therefore there's more consent. And when there's more consent for something, then it just poof, it just, whatever it is, it just becomes something that you
Yeah.
overnight master, you know. And so trust, belief in self, you know, like a lot of the things that we do to change actual reality are things that most people call using your imagination, pretending,
Yeah.
you know, those types of words have been
I
assigned
actually
to,
believe that it's happening. Yeah.
right, you know, like it's all, you know, taken away from its importance, and is daydreaming. I was daydreaming and changing so much for years in an almost addictive way, you know. And then it took like 6 years before I realized the impact I was making. Like looking back and seeing very, very real results from my daydreaming, you know. And I was doing work. And so knowing that we are that powerful, we, and this isn't I'm so cool that Pamela can do XYZ, it's we can do, you know. And the more that you trust in your own ability, the stronger and more capable you will notice that you are, you know. And we came in here because we are the best. I remember when the request for volunteers went out, and every, I would say like 99.9% raised their hand. And out of all of those, only us were picked, meaning like, I mean, billions upon billions of hands raised, you know, and we were the ones picked because we are the most practiced at this. So to just know that you have it, you already have that power inside of you, then it changes the experience and allows it to happen. And the more that you grow this flame, whatever the color is, you can notice after you let it grow. So just swell off. This is just something that I do. What I do is I let it swell off of me, and the flames get bigger and bigger. So usually I'm sitting on the floor. I only sit on a
Mhm.
chair when I'm at the desk here. And the rest of my house is just like, um, and I'll let that flame grow, and it'll continue on the floor around me into a large birth, a large space. And when you do that, however, and it's really cool, but when you do that, when you grow your flame big enough that there's room for another individual to enter that flame, you will often get visitors. They're
Yeah, I
good
only had
people.
it once.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Do
but
tell. Go ahead.
no, no. Oh, okay. So I will explain mine and you will explain yours. So yeah, like in short, like how you call on the flame, like some instructions in the beginning. I think like mostly on the internet, you just kind of call upon it and like visualize it. I think that's what you find on the internet. But the way I like to do it is like tune into my heart center and like visualize it from coming from within myself, the violet flame, and like expanding it from my heart center through all parts of my body and also like around me. Oh, sorry, that was my ring. And yeah, like around me as well. But usually I just do it on myself and my aura. But in the beginning, I was like very experimental, like how far can we push this stuff outside from my body? And I was doing it for several days, I know, and I was affecting, I'm not sure how much, but like probably a few 100 meters around me. I was like able to like push it outwards to almost as far as I could see. And all of a sudden, this wide robed, wide bearded guy showed up in front of me in the middle of the fire. I was like, oh shit, like, what is this? Like, I didn't sign up for this. And I kind of startled me, and I stopped there. I stopped the meditation, and I later found out that it was Melchizedek. And yeah, like, I haven't really followed up on that lead that much, but yeah, it was a super unexpected thing that happened.
That's cool. It can be startling for sure. And that's actually why I brought it up, is that when we don't, it's not so much that I now anticipate it, it's that I understand that it's a likelihood, just like it's just as likely for my child to walk through the room when I'm doing something. It's like she may not, and so it's the same kind of concept. And when we grow the flame so I have this experience often, actually, I would say semi-regularly, that when I grow the flame big enough, I'm doing it that way, knowing that, well, let's see who wants to come in. And so I'm kind of already have that invitation there. So maybe that's why it's more frequent for me. But I'll grow, and then that's really the main reason I'll grow the flame to that size. Otherwise, what you can also do is you can visualize in meditation, as well as with your waking eyes, what you're doing your day, just to like visualize a flick of violet flame on things also, really helps people. Like I've done that standing in line at the grocery store, and like there's some hoopla going on up ahead with some kid that wants a candy bar that mom doesn't want to give it, and this whole thing. And I'll just I'll send love over there. And then usually the kiddo needs a little bit of violet flame. And so I'll send love to mom, and then, and then it just stops. And it's nice because then I don't have to worry about listening to tantruming the next 15 minutes while I'm in line. But, and same is true for a place that you plan to go to. So like, I'm not an incredibly social person. I'm rather introverted, and the larger the group, just like all of us on this journey, it's the energy exchange can be very difficult to do. However, if you do planning ahead of time and send the violet flame someplace where you're going, then you're able to kind of clean the energy and the frequency of the place, as well as the people there, ahead of time. And it also will change my own interaction with that energy too, because I'm in alignment with them, and it's often rather pleasant, or it can be, and so there's a lot of things that you can use it for. It doesn't have to just be healing and transmuting myself. We're sending this to other people, to pets, to the earth, to wherever you burn it up. Guardian, right?
If you don't like something, burn it. Well, it really works. So yeah, like I also use it in the same way when I go among like many people, or I know that I will have some social interactions that I won't enjoy that much.
Right.
And I like try to anchor it as much as I can before like going into the event or something. And while it's happening, I'm like 50% like there of like focusing on it and like extending it from myself, like I'm like flooding you, all you people, with violet flame. Like, if you enjoy it, great. If not, then that's your problem.
Yeah.
And yeah, like sometimes when like there are like people that I really don't enjoy being close to, and I sometimes like very intentional like send them quite a buttload of fire. And sometimes it really happened that it just like they just said hi, okay, said 2 words, and they were off already.
That's funny.
So yeah, it really works. It's a great repellent for unpleasant people.
And you're helping them too, whether or not they feel like it at the time. They're having this experience of distress because the energy isn't in alignment with theirs, and theirs isn't perhaps the best energy. However, now you've introduced this healing, this transmutation for them, that a lot of times you'll find out down the road that helped that person. They don't know that's what helped them, because, usually I haven't told them. It's just, that is a window of time where change in a positive manner began to occur. So it's kind of fun. And it does feel like that the violet flame is kind of strange to say, because white would seem to be the neutral color, and often it is. However, when you start with the violet flame, it feels like this is perhaps another of the neutral colors, being that when you start with the violet flame, then whatever needs to come forward will. It's like, I'll give this thing and that thing and this thing in myself and whatever, all this violet flame, and then perhaps it's green that part needs, or whatever, just pick a color, and it will become what's needed. So and it always does. Just to trust it. There's no reason not to. You can feel it in your discernment. That it's true, and it works for everything. Part of what's so important about the violet flame is that it is this sacred higher order love that is attached to it. Like, for me, that's what it feels like. It's like this, hey, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. I always see 1, 2, 3, 4 or 2, 3, 4 all the time. And when we connect with this higher love, higher light energy, that's where creation is. And so all creation that can then be assisted into a more harmonious place when used with that same energy, so that's why it works. So when Guardian says, throwing the flame at it, it's very similar to what I talk about sending love. It's simply understanding that what we're doing is we're sending something to it and changing it and giving it the option to change, and so what is the example that I'm often shown, I'm sorry, I'm going on a little bit further, is
I will try to remember what I want to say.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, like mine is kind of short. Like you were referring to the whole thing that, hey, like I'm sending a lot of eternal fire in my case, or violet flame, to other people. And like maybe they're like not of the same vibration, but it's like still activating them to a certain extent, because like they have the same energy within themselves, but maybe it's like suppressed. Like they went through life experiences that like pushed them to suppress their emotions, their inner connections to source, to their heart center. But basically they have the same fire within themselves too. So when you're like sending them this like overwhelming energies of fire, then basically like you're poking their inner flame as well. So you're like helping it like push a bit forward and like come forward a bit.
Right. You're fanning their flame.
Yeah. And maybe many people are like not ready for that, and that's why they leave, because they don't want that. That's scary for them.
Right. And always when I send this out to people, when there's a lot of people in disorder, they're trying to find harmony, and don't know why they're aggravated. And what's really interesting, I have this visual, I see it. So only the people who act in a repelling way to this is what happens just right before they lash out. There is an energy, a cloud, a darkness thing, usually around their head, neck, and back and shoulders, somewhere in this area. This cloud will like, rawr, like it doesn't get you or anything. It's just like a caged animal or an angry animal. Rawr, it kind of like, you can feel it like, and then the human will then react. And it's like a reaction to this reaction. So what you're actually angering is not even that individual. It's that parasitical energy that person is working through on their own and need that help for. And what's really cool is that usually within a short time, you see or hear about that person again, and that person's had a profound change in the world. And like that helped to begin to liberate that individual of that parasitical energy. So
because the violet flame and the eternal fire like dissolves those things.
Yeah.
And that's why they usually flee those energies, because like they don't want to be dissolved in the fire.
Yeah, exactly. The same works for love in the same exact way, in that um, whatever is not of their energy, which is a higher light with the love, the healing, all that stuff, they flee to that as well. And what's really cool about that is that we're doing this often, not always. I would say that the vast majority of the time that I use the violet flame on others, or sending love out, and in the ways that we're talking about, is due to what would be seen as a selfish act. I don't want to feel like that. And I'm going to change this because I'm existing in this energy right now and I'm not okay with that. So let's fix that. And the side effect of me just being okay in my own energy is that then I'm liberating the others, and helping and healing a lot of individuals, like that's why we're sought out in the grocery stores. It's like this light that comes off of us. It does this kind of energy while we move too. It's like a heartbeat. And so on occasion, our energy sphere will reach farther out than we're used to because of that inhalation that's happening. And just walking through the store, those individuals who cross that 50 to 75 foot radius of your body is getting transmutation. Like just walking through your sphere, because you're holding that and you're regularly using the violet flame on yourself. Like it's basic hygiene. Clear yourself, like, sorry, a little tangent.
Like it's super important. Like I'm not sure like how much transmutation we do on other people, like just by coming close to each other with our fields. But it's like I think it's definitely like activating for sure. Like they receive impulses that they wouldn't receive otherwise. Like for people like us who are like actively searching for new information and activations and new experiences and all that, like we expose ourselves more often to these things. Even if you like just watch a video or something, I think it can have the same effect, because it's like, oh, I get it, or something happened inside of me, a realization or something. But like normal people who like people who actively avoid such information, like they can still be like exposed to it if like we come near to them. So we're doing this subtle, sneaky activation on them.
We are. And I wasn't clear, is that when we regularly clean ourselves, and then we can then connect to our love at the highest level, then that energy sphere that we are is this pure love. That's the same kind of tool as transmutation, in a different way that I was kind of comparing to. I'm making the topic confusing, I'm sorry. And so, but then what happens though is that when we do that, we affect the individuals, and our love passes through them. Then they come into our sphere. Then they're attracted to us, and like, that's always the funny story, is that when people are like, I'm not sure if I'm an empath or whatever, and then ask them how many strangers have told them their entire lives, like ask how many energies, how many people approach them that are strangers to begin with, like we are the people that for one reason or another, people can't stop telling their secrets to, and it's just a thing for years and years and years, my whole life. And then usually they'll say, I don't know why I'm telling you this. I've never told anybody that before. And then they don't stop talking. They keep going, and we're helping transmute, but just by listening as it comes through and we hear it. That's what I was getting at, is that as we hear someone's story, just due to our own discomfort in the energy, we alter the energy of it. And so while they unload their story, they're being healed of their story. And that's why we do that. And that's why it happens that way. It's just annoying as an empath, to be honest.
Yeah, like I'm not sure, like it depends on like which part of the world, but we kind of like have these stories of people who can like heal you just by, I don't know, like being in contact with them, or like just having a discussion with them or something.
Yeah.
Like unknowingly, they're just like sending this energetic exchange to you just by the mere fact that they're like focused on you. just as you were saying that, hey, like I'm listening to your story and I'm like fully invested in you, and we're having this deep energetic exchange, and we're like almost like a blood transfusion or something.
Yeah. It's bizarre.
Yeah,
It,
like an infusion of new transformational energies.
yeah. I've always been, thought that was what everybody could do. That's just something that I've always done. It's, um, not like I walk up and talk to somebody and then who has full body cancer and all of a sudden they're healed or anything like that. It's
Yeah.
just,
Or they're in a
where,
wheelchair and they can walk home.
right. It's so weird. I complained to you about my broken hand and all of a sudden it's better or whatever, just like that kind of stuff. And broken hand meaning having been broken and then healed wrong. And then just talking about it while we had the conversation, all of a sudden it was better, and those kind of examples since I was a kid of just people talk about their burdens and then their burdens don't go completely away, I would say, but become less over encumbersome, if that makes any sense. Like the burden is lessened without their intention. It's going to be though too, unless the person knows that healing is occurring and consents fully. We can go around the corner and talk to their higher self or their guides and stuff and do it anyway. If you get consent from their above, you can then heal the below. Though at the same time, it feels to me now we're in this age of consent where everyone has realized that they were consenting to things that they didn't. So everyone's removed their consent. And now each thing that's happening requires more consent than before, which is cool for everybody's getting to that point.
Yeah,
However,
like finally, like people are taking responsibility for their choices.
right, exactly. And so as a result of that, that kind of osmosis healing where the person's not fully aware of what's happening isn't as noticeable or impactful. If the person though, if you could say, hey, can I try something? Like and just kind of let them know that you're going to offer some kind of help, energy, whatever it is, use your own words that feel correct, that person will understand open-mindedly. Then, getting that kind of consent will change it and it'll become a more impactful, long-lasting thing too. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like we're nearing the end section of the meeting. And like, does anyone have any types of questions regarding like how the violet flame works and what you can do with it? So we can help you with that. And like, while anyone posts something, like I just remembered my wife's aunt, like she had some back injuries and like back problems. And I never told her about this stuff or like hands-on healing. By the way, I don't do hands-on healing, but I can like channel stuff from my hand and from my body into theirs. But basically what I usually do is like activate the fire within myself and then inside of them. And just for the sake of them thinking that I'm actually doing something with them, I touch them or like massage their back or something. And they think like, oh, like it's doing these wonderful things. And the weird stuff was that we went on a vacation for a long weekend and her husband had some kind of back injury too. And he was like struggling with it. And she recommended my help to him. But he was like super skeptical about this and laid down on the back in the bed. And I don't know, just took some crappy energy and like dragged it out from his back. And okay, it's lasted for like 20 minutes. And next day, he didn't say a damn thing. But next morning, his wife came again, like, oh, can you do that again? Like he was like so excited about it because like he said, like, I don't know what he's doing, but when he touches my back, all the pain goes away.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
It's so nice to have that immediate proof. And then the next time that you go to assist that individual, now that they believe it because they have been proven, you've proven that it works, then it will have an even more impactful and long-lasting result because that person's now saying, okay, that's a full acceptance, that's a full consent, and so that's really a cool story. Thank you for sharing it. What do you do with the energy when you move it? Where do you put it? when you take the energy out that doesn't belong there? I'm curious.
Well, when I did that, and I haven't really thought of that, I just threw it out.
Good.
Well, it didn't go back, so yeah. But while I was doing it, I was like activating the inner fire within him as well. So the way I usually do it is like I don't know, like activate my inner fire within myself first, and like transfer that activation, that intention into them. So even if they're not aware of it, I'm like reflecting what is happening in me to them or something, if I explain it correctly. And it like also activates a lot of processes within them as well, if they're open to it, but mostly people are, because they have absolutely no clue of these things.
Right.
Yeah, like just as you said, like mostly people are like open to anything because like they're like an autopilot all day long, and yeah, like just go with the herd and do as everyone else does, and
Yeah.
that's about it.
That's really cool. There's two things that I do, and I just kind of wanted to, it's fun to compare notes, is that when I pull energy out of someone, you can do one of two things. You could, a lot of what we're doing is we're changing that energy to something more beautiful and kind of get absorbed by whatever color or frequency you're holding. However, in the beginning, when I first started to do it with intention, I would let it become almost like ropes. And then when I would pull it out, then it would be long enough to touch the ground. Then all of a sudden it was easily moved into the earth. And I can see inside the earth, there's like these white plasma underground rivers of light energy stuff. And they're filling the pockets of the density where the density used to be now. So that's why our planet's more full of light and all this cool stuff. And when you pull it into the earth, it will eventually meet that white light, and that white light will transmute it. So whichever way you do it, I would suggest in the beginning to put it in the ground and let Gaia take care of it. Gaia will guide it where it needs to go. Because lots of times when we do that, we're doing that healing, and then all of a sudden we're like, sometimes if we're not very practiced, then the energy will kind of connect to us a little bit, and then it's uncomfortable, and we'll have symptoms that the person was experiencing. So
yeah, like so it's a very tricky stuff when you're like doing healing on other people, because like their stuff can come into you as well, especially if they have some kind of nastier attachment or something. Like it can, maybe if you like force it to leave their system, it can like attract, it will be attracted to the nearest thing, which is you. If you don't prepare well for the whole session. So yeah, like be very careful with those stuff. But yeah, like doing the violet flame, for example, during healings or releases or that, is like transmuting everything. So it creates this sacred space, and it's safe too. So like nothing that is of density can like move through it or come towards you or towards that specific person, because it's like dissolving everything that is of lower nature. So everything that is non-beneficial or not of the higher light will have to leave, or if they want to, they can be transformed in the fire too. And in my experience, especially in the past few years, like there are like many beings who have been like stuck on this karmic loop of like dark things and stuff, have chosen to like, okay, like actually stop that repeating cycle and like move forward and transform who they are, basically, like dissolve all the crap that has been like who they are, basically, and just be that pure essence who they were, like God knows how much time ago, maybe millions of years ago in some cases, and to for the first time like move on to a different way of being. So yeah.
Right. I just saw that Jenny Brown had told the same story I did, that to use the energy, send the energy into Gaia. That's really fun. When you're having that any kind of attachments coming around you, like you said, like Guardian said, the best thing to do at the end of it, make sure you always clear yourself. You're just like washing your hands, like
Yep.
you handle something dirty, go wash your hands, you know. And then also same with this kind of stuff. You just handled something dirty. It's not, you can use whatever word you want. I don't mean to insult anything. It's just simply that it's not something I want connected to me. And so it's not invited, you know,
Yeah. You
and
just
remove.
think about it just like an operation or something. Like before
Yeah,
you go into an operation, you clean yourself first because you don't want your crap to mix with that person that you want to help. And after that, clean yourself again because you
exactly.
work with some dirty energies.
Right. Exactly. You know, and a lot of times these energies are just looking for a way home. Like we're the conduit of energy where you constantly move energy in and out, up and down, and
Mhm.
we're this highway. And so, you know, guiding it to go to that, a lot of times people will be like, you know, the old example of these, you know, go to the light in these movies and stuff, and they're not really energy workers. What they're saying is go to Guardian or go to Pamela or go to whoever is watching right now, you know,
Yeah.
and
Pass it
because
over to someone else.
right. And that's becoming more and more of a message coming through for people to realize that's what's happening. A lot of us at the beginning, when we don't know what's going on and stuff, feel like we're haunted because all these energies are just kind of hanging out around, and they're hanging around because they were told to go to you, that you were a promise on the way out. And so
Hmm.
presenting that light and letting it go, and also using this transmutation, this violet flame to some of these energies do need to be cleaned so they can go on. You know, they're stuck somehow. And so
Yeah, like because
helping
like
them.
they're full of density and distortion
Yeah,
and icky stuff. And like if you have that, you can't move upwards. So first you
exactly.
have to like clean that all that crap out, and after that they can move on basically.
Yeah. There was this one example. I'll try to be really brief. I went to this place. I felt like it was remote viewing, but I don't know what, it was very strange. Um, anyway, the wall had a bunch of entities in it. And
Hmm.
I I opened the wall by I just really strange movement of my hand, and there was like a portal kind of like, anyway, they came out, and they were really some of them who had, the longer they were had been here, the more animal-esque they had become. And this particular one was really impactful on me because some of them came back with me, and they came back because they needed to be healed before they can go. And there was one in particular, this little boy that was walking all like sideways and weird and stuff.
Hmm.
What I did, and that's why I'm telling the story, is that I made like a wall of violet flame that they had to walk through to get to me, you know. And a lot of they were animalists, they were like, you know, and it made them move through it. And when they moved through it, on the way to right behind is where the light is for them to go home, they became so human. Like it changed them. That I had no idea that freaky beast looking creature was a little boy, like probably from the 1600s. I don't know. He was very um and then he was a and then you get this beautiful wave of gratitude. Like these energies have been stuck here for a while, you know, and for you to free them is the most beautiful gift of all, you know. And I think that's why they're around us, though, is that we will automatically do it just in order to make our energy feel more
Yeah.
comfortable, you
Clean
know.
out the
So,
house
yeah.
so you can
And
sleep at night.
yeah, and that's their way out. So
Yeah. Yeah, like in like regarding this being or attracting maybe beings or people like that is I heard it in some kind of regression on a QHHD session that uh, I think like a person has some kind of attachment with, I think he was like addicted to cigars or something and had some kind of attachment that he like wasn't able to let it go. And during the session in the last phase, when you're working with the subconscious, like it came through that there was this other person in that guy's knee or something like that. I'm not sure, in some part of his body. And like they interviewed that other person who was attached to the knee or something. And it turned out that like he died, I don't know when. And he was like also attracted to cigars. So he had like a serious addiction to And after he died, there was like total darkness, and the only light that he saw was that person's addiction, basically. So he was drawn, because that was like the only thing that he was able to perceive. He was drawn to that person who was also struggling with that addiction too.
Right. That
So
makes
it's not necessarily, he wasn't necessarily there to hurt that person or something. It just, that's the only option that he had available or was able to perceive in that moment, basically.
right. Energy connects with like energy. And so that makes a lot of sense, you know, and so it's such as true also for what we're doing in the other way. The more that we, you know, like assist by listening to our body and follow, and, you know, some of this stuff seems really annoying. Like, you know, I remember being suggested to meditate and I was thought that was, no, there's no way I'm doing that. You know, like that just sounds, and there was a lot of jokes and stuff told about it, though. It's just what it was is it felt like I was wasting my time, especially to do it every day. Like, are you kidding me? And then now it's something to consider is that I won't go more than a day without meditating, at least just a little bit, but I do it naturally. It's become such a habit. When I don't do it though, I can tell. And that's what I'm trying to say right now, especially right now, guys,
It's
you
like
know,
going to the gym.
yeah, you know, don't skip leg day, right?
Yeah.
And we've got this, you know, healing to do for ourselves and realignment that's happening while all this dormant DNA is coming out of dormancy and we're getting more and more light codes coming in. It's exhausting, and it will greatly help to do that basic maintenance of at least 5 minutes of meditation a day, at least center self. I find that 5 minutes turns into an hour almost every time. And that's whatever amount you end up doing that works for you. Find your center, find your peace. You can do that in a bathroom stall at work.
Yeah, I've been recently, I usually do it before going to sleep. It's very short. But recently I've been like mostly doing it like when I hang out with family or someone. I just sit down, relax, and just like turned on the fire inside of myself while I was talking to someone. Like I'm also sending it to like everyone else in the room.
Yeah.
And it's like great because like it's also clearing me and like it's healing. It's also activating, and it's like also like acting as a catalyst in our evolution and soul's growth.
Yep.
And it basically like makes things a lot easier for us. Like whenever like some difficulties of like friction comes up during our stay here on Earth, it usually does from time to time, depending on how often. Like it's a great way of like alleviating that tension and difficulty with it. Like whenever you feel that like difficult times are nearing or you're struggling with something, then you should really like put your butt down and do this. Like each day, even if for like 10 or 15 minutes, can be like a super huge game changer. And if you really need it, like do it more times. I mean, several times a day. Like there is no limitation to that.
Yeah.
How much you can do it. It's not like vitamins or working out or something.
The more the better, you know. It
Yeah.
makes it easier each time too. And we become more practiced, and the more that you practice, the more it doesn't feel like you're even doing it with intention. Like
Yeah,
as
like you just think about it and your energy is already there.
yeah.
And at the same time, you're maybe doing something around the house, but you're still working with the violet flame, like on the side burner or something.
Right.
It's still doing its thing while you're washing the dishes or talking to someone or whatever. Be creative with it.
Exactly. Well,
All right. So yeah, like in closing, do you wish to share something vital,
yes.
higher vibrations?
Well, I would like to say that we're having our group Zoom meeting tomorrow, and we're starting to do it at 4 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, which is 2 hours later than normal. And that is 7 p.m., I think, Eastern Standard Time. The link is posted in my channel over in the community section. My link to my channel is in the title of this. So it's
Yeah.
easy to find me. Thank
It
you.
goes directly there.
Oh, and the group Zoom is free, and you don't have to have your camera on or your audio on, and it is not recorded or aired.
So yeah, but mines are. So
Yeah.
you've been warned. Okay.
You've been
So,
warned.
so thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you for sharing all your thoughts, emotions, all the beautiful violet heart emojis in the chat section. And yeah, have an awesome weekend, everyone, and see you next week. Bye bye.